Most serious health problems don't start with pain. They don't start with something obvious. They start small, so small you ignore them. A strange feeling, a slight change, a moment of discomfort, nothing that stops you, nothing that feels urgent. And that is exactly why they are dangerous, because the body does not shout first. It whispers, and whispers are easy to ignore. Most people think, if it was serious, I would feel it. But serious problems often begin in ways you don't recognize, because they don't match your expectations. You expect something dramatic, but the body starts quietly, and by the time it becomes obvious, it has already been developing. So the real question is not, what are serious symptoms? The real question is, what are you ignoring right now? The first symptom is one of the most common and one of the most ignored. Fatigue, not extreme, not sudden, just constant. You wake up tired, you move through the day tired, you go to sleep tired, and you call it normal. But constant fatigue is not normal. It may be common, but it is not normal. It can be a sign of nutrient deficiency, hormonal imbalance, chronic stress, poor recovery, or even early systemic problems. But because fatigue does not hurt, people adapt, they reduce expectations, they slow down, they stop questioning it, and that's how it becomes invisible. Another important point, fatigue is not just about energy, it affects thinking, mood, motivation, decision making, so it slowly changes your life without you realizing it. The second symptom is dizziness, and this is where things get more serious, because dizziness is often dismissed. It happens, it passes, you move on, but dizziness is not just one thing. It can be related to blood pressure, circulation, the nervous system, even the brain. And one key detail matters most. When dizziness appears suddenly, without a clear reason, especially if it feels unusual, different, stronger, or comes with instability, because that is not random. That is a signal. Another important factor is repetition. If it happens more than once, it matters, even if each episode is short, because the body rarely repeats something without cause. And dizziness is one of those symptoms that can be small, but meaningful. One of the most underestimated symptoms is shortness of breath, not during heavy exercise, not after running, but during normal activity, climbing stairs, walking at a normal pace, even talking, and people ignore it. They say, I'm just out of shape. I need to exercise more. It's age. But here's the key point. If your breathing changes without a clear reason, it matters, because breathing is directly connected to the heart and lungs. And when something is off in these systems, the first signal is often subtle. You don't collapse, you don't feel pain, you just feel slightly more effort, and that slight effort increases over time. Another important detail, shortness of breath often appears gradually. So you don't notice the change, you adapt, you slow down, you avoid stairs, you take breaks, and now your life adjusts to the symptom instead of questioning it. But the body is not supposed to struggle with basic movement. And when it does, it is not about fitness. It is about function. Fatigue is common, but not all fatigue is the same. There is normal tiredness, and there is unusual fatigue, the kind that feels different, heavier, deeper, harder to explain. You wake up tired, you feel drained early in the day, you have less energy than usual. But nothing obvious happened. No big effort, no clear reason, and that is what makes it dangerous, because it doesn't make sense. And when something doesn't make sense, people ignore it. They wait. They hope it passes. But unusual fatigue can be one of the earliest signals that the body is under strain, especially the heart, because when the heart works less efficiently, everything else receives less support, less oxygen, less nutrients. And the first system to notice this is energy. But instead of seeing it as a warning, people see it as lifestyle, as stress, as normal. And that is how important signals are missed. Many people think chest pain must be severe to be dangerous, sharp, strong, unbearable, but that is not always the case. Sometimes it is mild, a pressure, a tightness, a strange sensation, not painful enough to stop you, but noticeable. And because it is mild, it is ignored. People say, it's nothing. Maybe stress. Maybe I slept wrong, but the location matters. Left side, center of the chest, behind the sternum, and the timing matters. During activity, after stress, even at rest. Another important point, it may not stay, it comes and goes. And that creates false safety, because if it disappears, it feels harmless. But recurring discomfort is not random. It is a signal, and the heart does not always send strong signals first. It often starts with subtle ones. Most people look for one clear reason why they feel tired, but fatigue is rarely caused by one thing. It is usually a combination. And the most dangerous part is this. Some of the biggest energy drains are invisible. You don't notice them, but they are always there. One of the strongest hidden drains is constant stimulation. Your brain never stops. Phone, information, noise, scrolling, thinking. Even when you rest, your brain is active. And this creates a problem, Because real recovery requires disconnection, silence, reduction, but modern life does the opposite. It keeps your system constantly engaged, and that consumes energy, not physically, but neurologically. Another hidden drain is emotional tension, unresolved stress, things you think about again and again, situations you replay in your head. This creates internal pressure, and pressure consumes energy, even when you are sitting still. Another factor is lack of boundaries. You don't stop, you don't pause, you don't reset. So the system never returns to baseline. And over time, this becomes your default state, always slightly overloaded, always slightly tired, and because it's constant, you stop noticing it. But your body doesn't. Fatigue does not appear in one day. It builds slowly, so slowly you don't see it. First, you feel slightly more tired, then recovery becomes weaker, then energy drops earlier in the day, then motivation decreases, then everything feels heavier. But because this happens gradually, you adapt at each step. And that is why it's dangerous, because you never see the full difference. You only see small changes, and small changes feel acceptable, but over time, they accumulate, and the gap between your real energy and your current energy becomes large, but invisible. Another problem is comparison. You compare yourself to others, and everyone looks tired, so you think it's normal, but normal does not mean optimal. And living below your optimal state for a long time changes everything, not dramatically, but consistently. And consistency is what shapes your life. Many people think, I have no energy because I'm lazy, but the body is not lazy. It is protective. When energy is low, the body reduces output, not because it wants less, but because it has less to give. This is a survival mechanism. The body prioritizes essential functions, heart, brain, internal balance, and reduces everything else, movement, motivation, drive. So what you feel as lack of motivation is often lack of available energy. Another important point, the body always tries to stay stable. If energy is constantly low, it adjusts expectations. You move less, you think less, you demand less from yourself, and this becomes your new normal. But it's not your real capacity, it's your adjusted capacity. And that's a huge difference. Because once energy improves, everything changes. Speed, clarity, decisions, even personality feels different, and people are often surprised by that because they thought this version of themselves was permanent, but it was not. It was just the result of low energy. One symptom many people ignore is shortness of breath, not after running, not after effort, but during normal activity, walking, climbing stairs, even talking. It feels like you need more air, like breathing is not enough, and most people explain it simply, I'm out of shape. I'm tired. It's nothing. But breathing is automatic. You're not supposed to notice it. So when you do notice it, it matters, because shortness of breath can be linked to the heart, or circulation, or oxygen delivery. And here's what makes it dangerous. It often develops slowly, not suddenly. So you adapt. You slow down. You avoid effort. You don't realize that your capacity is decreasing until one day, simple things feel hard. And by then, the body has already been compensating for a long time. The fifth symptom is sudden weakness, not normal tiredness, not after work, but a sudden drop in strength. You feel fine, and then suddenly, you don't. Your body feels heavy, energy disappears, even simple actions feel harder, and this can last minutes or longer, and then it passes. And because it passes, people ignore it. But sudden changes are never random, especially when they have no clear cause. Another important detail. If weakness affects one side more than the other, even slightly, this is critical, even if it is brief, even if it disappears, because asymmetry is a signal, and the body does not create asymmetry without a reason. The problem is, these moments are short, and short symptoms feel unimportant. But in many cases, they are the earliest warnings. There comes a moment when you realize something important. You were not just tired, you were running below your potential for days, for months, maybe for years. And the hardest part is this, you didn't notice when it started, because it didn't hit suddenly. It slowly reduced your energy, step by step, until low energy felt normal. And once something feels normal, you stop questioning it. But that realization changes everything, because now you see the difference between functioning and feeling alive. You don't need a big moment to change. You don't need extreme fatigue. You don't need a crisis. The change starts earlier, in small actions, in daily patterns, in awareness, because the body responds to what you repeat, not to what you do once. And the truth is simple. The version of you with more energy already exists, not somewhere far, but close, very close. And the only difference is what you do consistently. Because sometimes the line between feeling exhausted and feeling fully alive is not a big change. It's a small one, done every day. There is a difference most people forget. Functioning and living. Functioning is doing what you have to do, going through the day, completing tasks, surviving. Living is different. Energy, clarity, engagement, presence. and fatigue slowly moves you from living to functioning. So slowly, you don't notice the transition until one day you realize you're just getting through the day, and that realization matters because it shows you where you are and where you can return. The biggest change does not come from one action. It comes from a shift in perspective, from ignoring signals to observing them, from reacting late to acting early, from waiting for strong symptoms to noticing small ones. This shift is simple but powerful because now you are not guessing, you are understanding. And when you understand your body, you stop fighting it. You start working with it, and that is where real change begins. Even when you felt exhausted, your body kept working, trying to compensate, trying to adapt, trying to keep you going. It adjusted, it slowed down processes, it conserved energy, it reduced output, not to harm you, but to protect you, because your body always works for you, not against you. But adaptation has limits. It can carry you only so far, and when those limits are reached, symptoms increase, not suddenly, but gradually, and that is where awareness becomes critical. Because the body doesn't fail without warning, it adjusts first, and those adjustments are your signal.